Tulsi Maharani ki. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajacharyasta Sata Shishi Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bolo All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Shishi Guru Angaranga and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Guru Krishna Das Goswami Nityanamane Namo Sankar Strita Shri Nishta Vyanta Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we're reading from the 10th canto, chapter 61, text 22. Shri Shuka Vacha Vritaha Swayam Bhare Sakshad Anango Anga Yutas Taya Ragya Sammitan Nirjitya Jaharaika Rato Yudhi Shri Shuka Vacha Vrita Swayam Vare Sakshad Anangonga yutastaya Ragyat sametan nirjitya Jaharaika rato yudi Shri Shukovacha Vrita Swayambare Sakshat Anangonga Yutastaya Ragyat Sametan Nirjitya Jaharaika Rato Yuti Shri Shukovacha Vrita Swayambare Sakshat Anangonga Yutastaya Ragya Sameta Nirjitya Jaharaika Yarato Yudi Shri Shukovacha Vrita Swayambare Sakshat Anangonga Yutastaya Ragyat Sameta Nirjitya Jaharaika Rato Yudi Vita Swayambare Sakshat Anangonga Yutastaya Ragya Sameta Nirjitya Jaharaika Rato Yudhi Shri Shukovacha Rita Swayamvare Sakshat Anangonga Yutastaya Ragya Sameta Nirjitya Jaharaika Rato Yuti Shri Shukovacha Shukadeva Goswami said, Vritaha, chosen, Swayamvare, in her Swayamvara ceremony, Sakshat, manifest, Anangaha, Cupid, Anangayataha, incarnate, Taya, by her, Ragyaha, the kings, Sametan, assembled, Nirjitya, defeating, Jahara, he took her away, Ekarataha, having only one chariot, Yudhi, in battle. Translation: Shukadeva Goswami said, at her Swayamvara ceremony, Rukmavati herself chose Pradyumna, who was the re-embodiment of Cupid. Then, although he fought alone on a single chariot, Pradyumna defeated the assembled kings in battle and took her away. So you can repeat. Shukadev Goswami said, at her Swayambhara ceremony, Rukmini herself chose Pradyumna, who was the re-embodiment of Cupid. Then, although he fought alone on a single chariot, Pradyumna defeated the assembled kings in battle and took her away. So, I'm going to read the commentaries by the Acharyas. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this verse describes how Rukmi held a Swayamvar assembly for his daughter's marriage in order to escape the infamy at giving his daughter to his enemy's son. And then Jiva Goswami comments that when it was certain that she chose Pradyumna, a Swayamvar was arranged in order to fool the intolerant competitors. The cause of choosing him was that he was elsewhere absorbed in the mood of Cupid, and here was endowed with his full form, Anga Yutaha. Though she chose him at the Swayamvar, he had to defeat kings who had gathered to fight with him out of envy. This showed his military prowess. After the marriage, to please Rukmini, his maternal uncle, he stayed a long time in Rukmi's city, or returning to Dwarka, he again returned to Rukmi's city later, since Aniruddha was born in his city, mentioned already in verse 18. And then Sanatana Goswami. He was surrounded by the assembled kings who gathered to fight with him out of enmity, because they were foolish, though Pradyumna was chosen by her at the Swayamvar, but he defeated them in battle. This shows his valor. After marriage, to please his uncle, he stayed a long time in his city, or going to Dwarka, he again came to the city, and Aniruddha was born there. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this was reminding me a little bit of Draupadi and her situation, but then also a little bit about Rukmini and Krishna coming in and taking her away, against the wishes of all the other kings, and especially her brother. And so also with Draupadi, it was kind of preset, that she was going to have Arjuna as her husband. And so here, Jiva Goswami was sharing that, they had set up the Swayamvara in order to fool the other intolerant competitors, and it was kind of the same thing with Arjuna as well, that there was this competition, but it was already preset because she had already chosen. And I was kind of meditating on this whole mood of these amazing and great devotees, and the decision to fool all these other incompetent suitors, even with Draupadi. And somehow I was drawn to the Bhagavad Gita and thinking about Krishna being the final factor of action, and thinking about how all these, because you look at this situation where you've got somebody's going to be getting married, there's a Swayamvara that's set up to go ahead and assign the husband in the situation, even though there's all these other different competitors. And again, somehow I was drawn to the Bhagavad Gita and thinking about how when we attach ourselves to Krishna and we make him the center of our lives, that everything comes to fruition. And sometimes maybe not as we would necessarily have that, but I'll go ahead and read these verses. If you go to the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18, there's several different verses, starting with 13, about this understanding that Krishna is the final factor of action. And I'll go ahead and read this because otherwise I'll start talking about things that Prabhupada actually shares in a wonderful way in his different purports. 13 and a couple thereafter. So, Panchaitani Mahobaho Karanani Nibodame Sankhye Kritante Proktani Sijhyahe Ye Siraye Sarvakarmanam. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. And Prabhupada shares, a question may be raised that since any activity performed must have some reaction, how is it that the person in Krishna consciousness does not suffer or enjoy the reactions of work? The Lord is citing Vedanta philosophy to show how this is possible. He says that there are 5 causes for all activities, and for success in all activities, one should consider these 5 causes. Sankhya means the stalk of knowledge, and Vedanta is the final stalk of knowledge accepted by all leading acharyas. Even Sankara accepts Vedanta Sutra as such. Therefore, such authority should be consulted, which is why I'm going to Prabhupada in this, because I feel strongly that he always gives us the core reasoning behind why we're doing what we're doing, which is kind of what I want to talk about. The ultimate control is invested in the supersoul, as it is situated, or as it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Saneva Vishtaha. He is engaging everyone in certain activities by reminding him of his past actions. And Krishna consciousness acts done under his direction from within yield no reaction either in this life or in the life after death. And then text 14, the place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul, these are the 5 factors of action. The word ahishtanam refers to the body. The soul within the body is acting to bring about the results of the activity and is therefore known as karta, or the doer. So the soul is the doer. That the soul is the knower and the doer is stated in the Shruti. Esha hi drashta shasta. And that's the Prashna Upanishad 4.9. It is also confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra by the verses Gyo Ta'eva 2.3.18 and Karta Shastartha Vatvat 2.3.33. The instruments of action are the senses, and by the senses the soul acts in various ways. For each and every action there is a different endeavor, but all one's activities depend on the will of the supersoul, who is seated within the heart as a friend. The Supreme Lord is the super cause. Under these circumstances, he who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of supersoul situated within the heart is naturally not bound by any activity. Those in complete Krishna consciousness are not ultimately responsible for their actions. Everything is dependent on the supreme will, the supersoul, the supreme personality of Godhead. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. The words right and wrong are very significant in this verse. Right work is done in terms of the prescribed directions of the scriptures, and wrong work is done against the principles of the scriptural injunctions. But whatever is done requires these 5 factors for its complete performance. Somagana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I've always been really curious about these 5 factors of action, and Krishna being the final factor of action, and thinking, again, we come to this dichotomy of choosing to be Krishna conscious and choosing to go deep into our bhakti and our devotional service so that we can get to this place where Krishna in the heart, the super soul, is giving us direction. And so in looking in, and tying it into this situation, thinking of Rukmini and her situation, waiting for Krishna, and she gives us this example of being fully attached to Krishna, consciously of thinking of Krishna all the time, her whole room, with all these reminders of him, thinking of nothing of him and waiting for him to come save her from this, horrible situation, being married to such a bad character, who's inimical towards Krishna. And so again, coming back into understanding and knowing and thinking of what we're endeavoring to do is we're endeavoring to think of this final factor of action, which is Krishna and Super Soul, being the root cause of and around our different actions that we take in Krishna consciousness, and trying to remember why we're doing what we're doing. And that's to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to remember that he's the controller. He's the cause of all causes. He's the root of everything we do. And when we attach ourselves to Krishna, with that understanding, we can understand that no matter what the outcome of any situation is, that Krishna is behind all of that. And, with Rukmavati, with Draupadi, with Rukmini, certainly there were these elongated periods of what's going to happen, how am I going to be taken care of. Draupadi is waiting and waiting and waiting for Arjuna to show up. She has, she's beginning to get really nervous that he's not going to show up, and all these, especially Karna, having the capability of doing this, and then having to deny him that, and still creating this, just super tension of, when is Arjuna really going to show up and, take it? But then he does. And, she's taken shelter of Krishna, fully taking shelter of Krishna. And so the end result is that, our desires are taken care of. And even if they're against what we think they are, it's always going to be the best result for us in this situation. And so as we're thinking of this, of, the soul being the doer, we want to be the soul that's informed by Krishna and do the things that he wants us to do. And understanding that truly that's where our shelter is, because we get so many external things, and growing up, all these different movies, and TV shows and all these other things where you always had the hero showing up, to protect us, or protect the the female or whatever, or, there's all these heinous activities. But, you can just see where if we depend on material situations, the result doesn't, and I guess I was thinking about this too in context of all these different situations and these political situations of who's going to marry who, with all these kings there, all these political leaders from all over the, world trying to obtain, this woman. And then I think of, the political situations around the world, and, everybody being puffed up and thinking that they're the controllers and that they're going to be able to, have this absolute control, absolutely, but, you know, with power, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And they don't seem to understand that every single regime, every single, you know, political situation, you know, has ended. You had Caesar, you had Hitler, you had Mussolini, I mean, you just got so many, you can name them one after the other, always thinking they're in control, always thinking they've got it. And the problem is that they don't, and they lose everything. And they lose everything because they don't have Krishna. They don't have Krishna. And because of that, they're going to lose everything. And so it's, you know, this dependence on these fallible soldiers. And that's what's different for us, is that we have the one thing that can save us from false ego, you know, thinking we're the greatest, is saving us from birth, death, old age, and disease. You know, we have Krishna in Krishna consciousness, and I was thinking about this too, of how subtly, but I mean, just hugely different Krishna consciousness is, because we practice and we do what appears to be so many similar activities, but because they're tied to Krishna, it makes all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world, in that the soul becomes informed by super soul, and no matter what our activities are, you know, that there's no reaction. And of course, at least speaking for myself, you know, I haven't become fully Krishna conscious, so I know that, you know, I'm not being directed by super soul at all times, and so therefore I make mistakes, and then I have to have some form of reaction to remind me of what direction to go in. But, you know, the difference being is that I at least have, and we at least have, the reminder of why we're doing what we're doing, whereas, you know, the whole material world, not having Krishna, has no idea why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, you know, I come in, I come into contact, you know, like with my family members and, you know, other friends and everything else, and they don't really know why they're doing, you know, their friends and do. Why is this happening? Why isn't this happening? And so again, we have in Krishna consciousness to truly understand why we're doing what we're doing and why we should do what we're doing. And coming down to the root of that and to the final factor of action of Krishna, I don't know, for me, it's just like so amazing. It's so simple, but it's so amazing and it's so deep to understand, you know, that Krishna is this final factor of action. And the difference for them is they don't understand that. They don't understand that there's, you know, that Krishna has anything to do with any of the situations that they're in, right? They have no, you know, comprehension that they have all these desires and he's reciprocating with them, and yet they still don't know why things are happening to them or why they're not happening, you know, and they have all these desires, but in one simple moment of coming in contact with the devotees, in one simple moment of choosing to practice Krishna consciousness, everything changes. Life, death, birth, old age, you know, everything changes. The purpose of everything changes when we come to understand that Krishna is the final factor of action. You know, the purpose of, you know, why we get dressed, the the purpose of why we drive a car, the purpose of why we perform devotional service, why we offer our food, all these things change. The purpose of everything changes when we choose to become Krishna conscious. And so, there may be all this turmoil and, thinking about Rukmavati and, him and Pradyumna having to fight this huge battle, with all these kings, but at the core of that is, they're doing the right thing. They're connected to Krishna. Same thing with Arjuna, and, the same thing with Rukmini, having to go through all these extreme situations. And so, of course, we have to go through many different battles in life. And, of course, maybe not as great with as many warriors set against us, but we have to battle the senses. We have to battle Adhyatmik, Adhidaivik, and Adhibhogic. There's so many things that challenge us every single day, to divert us from our Krishna consciousness. But when we remember the cause of all causes and connect ourselves to Krishna, then those battles can be won, right? And again, it's these little idiosyncrasy, or these, idiosyncrasies or small battles that matter, because each and every single one of those small battles that we face each and every day, just to get up, just to chant our rounds and to get our devotional service done, have incremental input into our spiritual bank account, whereas everybody else that's endeavoring in this material world, doesn't have that type of bank account where every single thing they do, you put into that bank account, and there's absolutely nothing that can be taken out. All the devotional service that we've performed, that you perform, that I perform, can never be taken away from us, and builds that bank account for our next life so that we can start and go on and keep going, right? And so there's no loss or diminution in anything that we do. I mean, how fortunate is that? Just to realize that, and that's getting back to understanding the root of everything. Krishna is the cause of all causes. I mean, it's just, when you think about it, it's truly overwhelming and gives rise to humility, of understanding how great these things are. And at least for me, when I look to my spiritual master and understand his tolerance and his ability, his sole purpose is to bring me to Krishna consciousness, which is the sole purpose of any spiritual master, is to bring us to Krishna consciousness. And they're willing to do practically anything to do that, and tolerate so much of our nonsense, just to try to bring us to this place of Krishna consciousness. And, it's overwhelming when you think about it, because, but they understand that we're fighting against, the ocean of material existence, and choosing to go take up Krishna consciousness, we are walking upriver. And if you've ever tried to walk against the water or a wave, it can knock you down. But you get back up and you keep walking. And so they understand how complicated and difficult, but at the same time how simple it is, by giving our heart to Krishna through the chanting, through our devotional service. And that's, again, it's just this small little flip switch, right? This small little flipping of doing everything that we're doing for Krishna, right? And so that's, again, how we appreciate what we have in the association of the devotees, is because we know, each and every one of you, and, myself included, that we've all done that we've flipped that switch to want to go towards Krishna, to want to remember him, to, that image, it was the other image of this from Super Soul, and these, challenges that we face in life, these battles that we face in life, and, realizing that, Krishna's there in our heart as the one bird, and we're the other bird, and we've, in the material life, we're eating on the little fruits, but slowly in Krishna consciousness, we're turning to that partner that we have in our heart, the true partner, the one that's never going to leave us, the one that's, never going to sacrifice us, or can't think of the word, but never not be there for us. And again, I go back to the situation with my father, who still hasn't spoken to me for a couple of months now, and probably never will. Maybe, I don't know, but I know that I know who my real father is, my spiritual master in Krishna, and and I know that I have that, and so I'm peaceful, because I know that whatever my father's going through, he's struggling and he's suffering, and so I have to be patient and pray and compassionate, and not selfish, and think, well, why isn't what about me, but again, coming back into the fact that we do have this ultimate partner that's never going to forsake us. He's never going to give up on us. He always loves us, and he may put us through a lot of different things and a lot of different challenges and push us to the limit, but that's so that those moments when he does finally show up, are so much more magnified, right? It's so much more evident that he's there for us. I think about Draupadi just waiting and waiting and waiting for Arjuna and all these different circumstances, and how intense that must have been. Same thing with Rukmini. She's thinking, oh my God, he's not going to show up. How am I going to deal with this? And he waits to the last minute. And then when he does, the relief is massive. It's not just like, I'm waiting, oh, he shows up, okay. He draws it out to magnify the significance of him being there for us, right? Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. But ultimately, we have, again, this amazing partner who loves us unconditionally, whereas on the outside, there's so many conditions on love. I don't know if there's anybody has any thoughts or questions, but it just, for me, it was just, in this situation, I was just thinking of how in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, all these different experiences and all these different situations, are there to show us the result and the significance of taking shelter of Krishna, right?
Yeah, I was listening to class online while I was coming over. You had mentioned something about Hitler, Mussolini, and
oh, right.
I was trying to understand the context of...
Oh, well, just, you're looking at, Pradyumna and Krishna and Arjuna, having to fight these huge battles, with all these different political leaders and kings and everything else, and then you look at today's situation in the world, and there's just so much upheaval, and there's so many political people vying for power, and so often they think they're in control, but you see with all these other great leaders through time immemorial how they lose everything. Because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's like, and my point is that they don't have Krishna, so they're being falsely led by their ego to think that they've got it all and that they're in control. Just like Hiranyakashipu. Don't kill me in the day, don't kill me in the night. Because my sister saw the picture of him having his intestines ripped out, and she's like, oh, whoa. And I'm like, but he's the one who dictated that. By all the ways that he said that he couldn't be killed, he dictated that that was how he's going to be killed, because Krishna's more intelligent than him. So again, all these people in this material, and even us in our small little worlds oftentimes think we're in control of everything, but we're not. And when you take up Krishna consciousness, Krishna pretty much puts it in your face and shows you're not in control. But we get the benefit of understanding why, right? They don't. They're just going to take it all the way until they're taken down, by time, by situation, by everything. And my point is that there's no better understanding the final fifth factor of action, which is Krishna, who's the cause of all causes and center of everything. When you attach yourself to that understanding when you take up a life and take your actions in that direction, then everything's taken care of, and you understand. So that was my point. If that helps clarify that.
Thank you.
These fallible soldiers that fall, ping, 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 one by one, down. So I think it's about time. Yeah. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the association of the devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda Ki Jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Lasyan Dipan Dikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Page 57. Paramakaruna Poundwijana Anitai Gorachandra Paramakaruna Poundwijana Nitai Gorachandra Paramakaruna Paundwijana Nitai Gaurachandra Paramakaruna Paundwijana Nitai Gaurachandra Saba Avatara Saroshiromane Kevalananda Kanda Saba Avatara Saroshiromane Kevalananda Kanda Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surita Vishvasa Kori 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 Vishayachariya Sera Sema Jia Mukke Bolo Hare Hare Vishayacharya Sema Jia Mukke Bolo Hare Hare Deko Ore Bai Shri Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emanadayala Datta Deka Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emanadayala Datta Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emanadayala Datta Deka Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emanadayala Datta Pashupake Jure Pashana Vidare Shunijaro Guna Gata Pashupake Jure Pashana Vidare Shunijaro Guna Gata Samsare Majia Rohili Puriya Sepadena Hilo Asha Samsare Majia Rohili Puriya Sepadena Hilo Asha Apanakaroma Bunjaye Samana Kahoye Lochana Dasa Apanakaroma Bunjaye Samana Kahoye Lochana Dasa Apanakarama Bunjaye Samana Kohoye Lochana Dasa Apanakarama Bunjaye Samana Kohoye Lochana Dasa Paramakaruna Paundwijana Nitai Gaurachandra Paramakaruna Paundwijana Nitai Gaurachandra Sabha Avatara Saro Shiromane Kevala Ananda Kanda. Sabha Avatara Saro Shiromane Kevala Ananda Kanda. Jaya Gornitai, Jaya Gornitai, Jaya Gornitai, Jaya Gornitai, Jaya Gornitai, Gornitai, Jaya Gornitai, Jaya Gornitai, Haribol. Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur. Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radhe. 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 Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya 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 Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishi Gornitai ki jai, Shishi Radhagalokananda ki jai. The two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations, and their specific significance is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful, for they introduce chanting and dancing. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one gives up sense gratification to be Krishna conscious by this process, one is sure to reach the desired goal. One simply has to chant, Hare Krishna, Hare, without any sense gratifying motive. My dear brother, you just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even birds and beasts cry. What to speak of human beings? Even stone will melt at the chanting. My dear mind, you are entrapped in sense gratification and have no attraction for chanting Hare Krishna. Since you have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, what can I say? I can simply think of my misfortune. Srila Lochan Das Thakur ki jai. And I want to just remind everyone we'll be having Harinam Sankirtan Saturday in Durham between 4 and 6 at 5 Points. I'll be sending out an announcement. This week it's going to be good weather. It's going to be hot and sunny. So we will definitely be there in Durham between 4 and 6 on Saturday. Haribo. Are they doing it this week? Oh, maybe we'll have to do it some. They're doing it this. Yeah, the 24th. No, the 23rd. Yeah, no, it's next week. This week is 19th. So next, yeah. So it is this Saturday, the 19th. Will be in Durham, and then the following Saturday, the 24th, will be the kirtan here in the temple. So Saturday Harinam in Durham, 4 to 6 p.m. Chaitodarpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swaranam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Charorapi Sohishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadishakamaye Mama Janmani Ishvare Tad Bhakti Ohaitaki Twai Ahinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tavapada Pankaja Stija Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Garshu Daraya Varanam Gad Gaduridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Bravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadam Ritam Manastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotiva Yatatava Vidadatulam Mat Prananatastusa Evanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Thank you so much. My holy names, but I'm so no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice be choked? And when will my hairs and body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastra Ki Jai.